Hello guys, my name is Amit and welcome to my channel. I also welcome you in this series, Mastering Vagrant, Beginners to Pro. Whether you are a developer, DevOps engineer, or just enthusiastic to see how virtualization works, this series is for you. What we are going to cover in this series? We will cover all these points, starting with what exactly a Vagrant is, where exactly it is used, what are the use cases, or why is it important for you to use a Vagrant to save a lot of your time. Then we'll start installing Vagrant on Mac, Linux and Windows, which will give us the detailed instructions of how do we configure it. Then we'll start talking about the actual providers. Vagrant is an open source tool to save a lot of time configuring the environment. It will automate that process. To do this, it has to use these kind of providers like, for example, say VMware, or by default it has a support of VirtualBox, or you can also configure it to run on QEMU and others. To use those providers, we have to install different plugins. Think about plugins as extending the capability or the features of Vagrant, and there are multiple types of them. We'll explore them when we go to that topic. The main point, the core part of this Vagrant is called as a box. This is the disk image, which will be used to create your VirtualBox. Now, if you can find the boxes on the Vagrant cloud, well and good, but if you do not have one that matches your operating system or that matches your maybe architecture, there is a way we can create our own box, which we'll be seeing later in this chapter. Then we'll see like how do we create a Vagrant machine, how do we deal with it, how do we start with it, or how do we stop the machine, and how do we destroy one. We'll talk about provisioning. Provisioning means once the virtual machine starts, I can configure it automatically by using one of the provisioners there. Could be something like a file provisioner, or could be something like a Docker provisioner, or could be something like a shell provisioner. Maybe there is something called as a chef, Puppet, Ansible. There are many provisioners there. Those provisioners will automate the configuration of your virtual machine. Then we'll talk about configuring the networking settings like private IP, public IP, port forwarding. All of these things we'll cover in that chapter. And finally, we'll configure multiple virtual machines in one single project, or in one single something called as a Vagrantfile. This kind of multi-VM setup will help you to create the cluster. Imagining wasting too much of time to create virtual machines to create a Kubernetes cluster. Now with this particular VM setup, it's one command and it will create the entire cluster for you. Believe me, it works. It works like a magic. And that's the reason you will learn all of these techniques in this entire series, Beginners to Pro. I'll welcome you in this, and we'll meet again in our first episode. Thank you very much.